And a lot of the conversation turned to, well, the conference championship, all it's doing is covering up for how bad of a season it actually was. And I don't think either of us are going to say it was a great season from a wins perspective, from a lot of individual success perspective. But I will say this. A year ago, I got hammered on social media as the championship game for the Big Ten against Penn State was getting late, and people started talking, do you bring Brett Sears in? Do you bring him in for an inning to get the save? And at the time, I was saying no, because I want him as healthy as possible, max rest going into a regional, because I want to advance out of a regional. And I got hammered for it before the decision was for him to come in. And the reason being, from a lot of people, anytime you get a chance to put a trophy in the case to win your league, you take it. And I was like, that's fine. I absolutely get that. To me, I was like, there's higher goals for this team, because at that point they were going to get an at-large bid into the NCAA tournament. They weren't playing for their life in the same way they were this year. It works out for Nebraska. They win the Big Ten tournament a year ago over Penn State. Now this year, why isn't this the same case? They got a chance to put a trophy in the case. I know that the rest of the season wasn't great, and obviously didn't get out of a regional again here. But to me, it's the same thing. If you get a chance to put a trophy in the case, that is a notch for success for your program. I ended up, and I'll say it, I took the business on social media, and I was wrong. They put a trophy in the case, and it felt good, and it was good for this team, and it was good for this program a year ago. It's just as good for this team and this program this year to get that Big Ten championship, put a trophy in the case, the third in 5 years. Nebraska baseball has 4 Big Ten championships, has 4 Big Ten trophies in 14 years. And yes, there wasn't the 2020 season, and there was only 1 trophy in the 2021 season. So there have been.
Yeah, go back 2017, the first Big Ten regular season title.
Yeah, so for Nebraska there, so you've got 4 in less than a decade. If you go the overall since Nebraska joined the Big Ten, there have been 27 championships. 20. Okay, just a second. I'm going to do this really quick. So 26, and then one of them only had 1. So there have been 25 Big Ten championships handed out, regular season and tournament, since Nebraska joined the Big Ten. They have 4 of them.
Yep.
And 3 of them have come in the last 5 years.
Right.
No, the regional success hasn't been there. But guess what? The regional success hasn't been there for 20 years either. I don't think that's a Will Bolt thing. And now I'm speaking specifically to people who throughout the season were on the fire Will Bolt train. And I'm not going to ask you to comment on that because of what you do with the Huskers Radio Network, but I'll say it because I'm not with the network. I think it's asinine to try to have that conversation in the middle of a season coming off of a Big Ten championship, and then that same season ends with a Big Ten championship. It hasn't gone the way Nebraska fans have wanted, and I guarantee you it has not gone the way Will Bolt and company want it to go. But there are 3 trophies in that case that weren't there 5 years ago. And to me, that says a lot about this program and what Will Bolt is doing.
I have no problem saying this about the conversations around the coaching staff and if there should be changes. My answer to that is it's coming from a lot of people that don't know the program and the inner workings of the program. And maybe that's where I have a bit of an advantage. And I understand that's where maybe my perception could be a little bit skewed too. But I think what they did this year was even more remarkable than a year ago because of the ability to have a group that really took it on the chin during the first wave of conference play, where it would be very easy to accept that as your fate if you have a weak culture. And this is where I know sometimes we overuse the culture and we overdo the culture conversation in all sports many, many times. But I think when you see examples of a strong one, I think it's important to bring that up. And who creates that culture? Well, it starts with the head coach and then the coaches that he has around him. You think of a guy like Rob Childress. I mean, that is a no BS type of guy, but a guy that 100% connects with his players. Will Bolt's the same way. 100% connects with his players, knows the time to hit the right buttons, and also knows the times to let his upperclassmen maybe lead the way and say less. All of those assistant coaches, that entire staff, I mean, that's a connected group. That to me really showed in, I think, one of the more trying moments of this season, that you get back from LA, then you're home for a day, then you're heading right back on a bus in a weird game against Kansas State, and doesn't go well for Nebraska in that situation. You're thinking, oh my God, we got Oregon State coming to the ballpark this weekend too. Wow, this is going to be fun. I could see a lot of doubt would have been very easy to creep into a lot of student athletes' minds when you're going through what Nebraska did, and then you're looking at that upcoming opponent, regardless if it's at home or not. And Nebraska showed something there. And then it was just more of trying to have the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, as opposed to the 1 step forward, 2 steps back type of situation. And once that schedule lightened up for Nebraska, again, it's one thing on paper for that to happen. It's another thing to actually, okay, got to win these games. Let's go out and do it. Guys know they can. Oh, gosh, we lost the Friday game. Uh-oh. Now we're 9 innings away from losing another series against a team that we should beat. They didn't accept that.
Mm-hmm.
That Northwestern, I know this one is very small on the radar, but without that series, who knows what happens when they lose in just gut-wrenching fashion on that Friday night game against Northwestern. They tie it up, and then Northwestern has a little punch and Judy hit out to right field to retake the lead. Nebraska doesn't score. And so not only do you have to show up to the ballpark on Saturday to try to even things up, you got to win 2 games to win the series because there's no game on Sunday because of the weather. It was a doubleheader. They showed up, and what they do, they won those 2 games. That series against Minnesota that I thought was highly stressful the entire way, that Nebraska was able to, again, withstand a shot on Friday, come right back on Saturday and Sunday and win. So it wasn't just the fact that Nebraska took advantage of the schedule when it lightened up, but the way that they had to win those series in a variety of ways still, I think, to me, amplified that players, coaches were still on the same page, that everybody understood the situation that they still had in front of them. And then you get to a situation into the Big Ten tournament, you play your way in. And to your point, you're absolutely right. There's a little bit more extra emphasis and sense of urgency on those games, knowing that this is your only ticket to the NCAA tournament. Yeah, you got a little bit of luck, a lot of luck with a drop fly ball. But again, just like when the schedule lightens up, can you take advantage of it? That game Nebraska didn't win that game when the ball was dropped. Okay, they were still alive in the game, but they didn't win right there. They still had to go out and take advantage of that situation. Then they had to come right back through a weather situation, come right back and play 2 games on that Saturday, one of which against a team that was fantastic, didn't play very well in their regional, but a team that their power numbers were unbelievable. And they were throwing their guy that had been almost unhittable in a lot of occasions and had a few complete games and everything. Nebraska got him out in the 4th inning. And then on the Sunday game, a team that Nebraska had fallen 3 times to against a pitcher that was on a heater, he doesn't even get out of the 2nd inning. So it wasn't like Nebraska all of a sudden had this, well, this team got bounced, this team got bounced. So their path was really easy. They ended up playing some weaker teams. And so they had to go through the 2 best teams in the Big Ten to win that title. And they did that. So to do that at the end of the year, to be able to take inventory of all the crap that happened both on the field and the injuries and some of the illnesses and stuff off the field, and of course the emotional drag that you have in always being reminded of Greg Sharp and that way we started the season with that emotion. For this team to be able to, and I say team, it's the coaching staff and the players, to take inventory, to just refuse to accept that fate for this season that had such promise going into it, to me, that is strong leadership. To me, that is strong upperclassmen. To me, that's a strong culture. And if you got a strong culture, you've got a chance to do some pretty special things. And I think that was more evident in the last month and a half of this season than really even the last 4 months of last year, which was a very special season. Mm-hmm. And I just, so when I hear that about coaching changes and whatnot, that's why I just say you got to look at the full picture. You got to look at all of the inner workings, what they were going up against. And sure, is it that much different than other teams? Maybe not. But the fact that they still got themselves in a position to win a tournament title and get an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament, what are we talking about here then?